me now from his new home office somewhere in Canada. We're not going to say where it is, but right off the top, buddy, the place looks terrific. How are you settling in there?
Jay, to be honest with you right now, it's a bare bones operation. I had to kind of put this together, but don't worry. Give me about 10 days, and I'll have an electric studio going. As far as the place itself, like I said, we're bare bones right now. We've got some things in the kitchen. We have a functioning bed. One bathroom's not minted out, but is sufficient, and kind of a pieced together couch. So bare bones operation, but things are coming along, and I do have my record player up and running, so that is a key part of the crib.
To be honest, all you really need is the vinyl, and the rest will take care of itself. So keep cranking that Alice in Chains, and you'll be good to go, buddy.
Yes.
You talked about the Bills after that comeback win over the weekend over the Arizona Cardinals, and I loved what you said. You said, same old Bills. You don't like all the mistakes. You'd like them to clean that up. After watching the Jets, or watching the Dolphins over the weekend, you know you're going to face the Dolphins on Thursday night. Are you feeling any better about this team going into Thursday night?
Am I feeling better? No, I'm not. But if you're a Bills fan, I do think that there's, hope for this Thursday nighter. And that hope, relies on Josh Allen. And let's go back to these, the sloppiness I like to call from last week and really for the last 2 years, in my opinion. But it's like you go out, the Bills have 9 penalties or 65 yards. They give up a fumble early. Josh Allen got sacked there. And they give up a kick return late in the game. Seemingly, when you think that they've had it won with ease now, they got to let, the Cardinals back in this thing. Where I get nervous for the Bills is that I don't believe that this new-look Cardinals team is that good. I know there's a lot of offseason buzz about them, some new pieces, etc., obviously through the draft. I don't think the Cardinals are a very good football team on either side of the football. And Miami is much better. Miami also has a ton of playmakers, Tyreek Hill being one of them. He went off for an 80-yard touchdown last week against Jacksonville. And unfortunately for the Bills, in my opinion, they're very, very thin in their secondary. I believe Teron Johnson is out this week. That whole defense is going to have their hands full. So where I get worried about the same old Bills is if they don't, when I say clean it up, I mean all of it. Not some of it, Jay. I mean, we need to have about 3 total penalties for 15 yards in this game, or else you're going to get beat. Miami is not Arizona. So if you come out and give them 65 free yards and a turnover and a special teams touchdown, you most likely will not win that game unless Josh Allen becomes the next version of Superman, which I don't even know what that is. So again, I am nervous for the Bills. As long as you have Josh Allen, you will be in every game. He is that good. He is that much of a playmaker. But that team as a whole, one, needs to contain this Miami offense, but two, needs to contain, their unforced errors, their own mistakes against a team like Miami.
Luke, probably the most disappointing team, I don't even think it's probably, Cincinnati Bengals, just a disaster in week 1, losing to a Patriots team that most people don't think will get to 5 wins this season. And then you find out Joe Burrow might not even play in this game against the Chiefs. I mean, it's against the Chiefs of all teams this weekend. I mean, how important is it for the Bengals to just show up and make some sort of a statement in order for them to stay in the conversation atop the AFC in terms of contending teams?
I think it's very important. I know it's early. It's obviously week 2. But I look at this Bengals team, and I look at Joe Burrow, individually. Last year, when he played, he was 5-5. This year, he's off to an 0-1 start against the New England Patriots. Tip your cap, give the Patriots some credit. But this team is probably the thinnest they've been depth-wise in the last couple years. You lose Boyd at receiver. T. Higgins, I don't believe is scheduled to play this week. You got Jamar Chase, who had the holdout issue. You lost Mixon. I know you got Moss in there at running back, but to me, I think Mixon is probably a more complete guy. And a lot of this is now going to fall on Joe Burrow to pick up the slack. He's got the big contract. He's, supposed to be in the conversation with Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar, and I don't think he's delivered. Now, I'm not saying he's not talented. Please don't take it that way. I do believe that he can deliver, But if you go back to last season and obviously one game this year, he's not been the Joe Burrow they need him to be. So even if they don't beat Kansas City, which again I think is a very, very tough task for anybody, to at least be able to kind of go out there and go toe to toe with them, sort of like the Ravens did last week. They had Lamar. I think would be a great step in the right direction. But unfortunately for me right now, I am very cold on this Bengals train. I think they're really going to struggle against Kansas City. I think they've been exposed a little bit, and I also worry about their run defense. Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots ran all over this team last week. And if they don't, figure out how to stop the run, and this is not just them, it's anybody, you can't win ball games in this league. So I think the Bengals have a lot of problems. And for Bills fans who are still maybe listening because they're not too mad at me, you'd much rather have your problems than the Bengals' problems, because the Bengals' problems right now to me are much tougher to correct.
I think you're absolutely right about that. Let's go from the AFC to the NFC. Let's talk San Francisco 49ers, one of your favorite teams. And Christian McCaffrey, who did not play in Sunday's season-opening victory over the New York Jets. Jordan Mason came in, just absolutely emerged as a terrific running back for San Francisco. So maybe that, quells a little bit of the panic about McCaffrey not playing. But it looks like McCaffrey might not play this Sunday against the Vikings either. How worried would you be for Kyle Shanahan's squad if McCaffrey was out long-term?
Not one bit. And that's just the honest truth. I mean, I am not a 49ers guy, obviously, but that Monday night performance to me was special. I mean, Jordan Mason looked very good. Obviously, he's not CMC, but my point is, with or without CMC, this is a great football team. Adding CMC in there makes them even better, but they threw the ball extremely well. Brock Purdy has not missed a beat. And it was against the Jets defense. People can have their opinions about Aaron Rodgers. This Jets defense last year was a great defense. That is a fact. So they went out, dismantled the Jets defense, ran all over them, spread the ball around. Ayuk had some plays. Kittle caught a couple balls. Kyle Juszczyk had a big play down the sideline. Juwan Jennings, I believe, had 64 yards. Trent Williams looked like the star that he is. Everybody's played well. And defensively, Jay, I got to be completely honest with you. Their new D coordinator, Nick Sorensen, I know extremely well. He was our guy in Seattle for many, many years, was a special teams guy, kind of graduated to the defense. This guy is a tremendous top-tier coach and a tremendous top-tier person. I promise you, if there's a guy that can get people to play hard, Nick Sorensen is him. So now all of a sudden, you've got Nick Sorensen, who is, again, a tremendous leader, and a guy who's played forever in the NFL, I might add, who's running that defense. Fred Warner looked great. Brock Purdy looked MVP-esque, if I might say. It's going to be great to have CMC, but I promise you they will still be fine without him.
Okay, let's talk about the team you really love, one of your former teams, the Seattle Seahawks. They have a new head coach in Mike McDonald. Speaking of defense, he's a defensive guy. They bring in a defensive head coach. He's getting massages from Marshawn on the sideline, and they're beating the Broncos in week 1. But despite that, Luke, you're not that high on your former team right now. Tell us why.
Yeah, Jay, it hurts my heart to say this, but if you watch that game, and you're a Seahawk fan, I think a lot of us were sitting here thinking, hey, this team can compete in this division. And they barely beat the Broncos. And I know this guy will probably be a good quarterback, but Bo Nix looked terrible, looked like a rookie quarterback. The offense for the Broncos as a whole looked very, very poor. And somehow that was a close game. I sit here and I look at it on paper. You got Geno Smith, who I think is a tremendous quarterback. You got DK. You got Locke. You got JSN. You got Walker at running back. Noah Fant, I think, is one of the most underrated, underappreciated, and super athletic tight ends in the league. And somehow the offense, looks so. And where I get nervous about this is the play caller, Ryan Grubb. And a lot of Seattle fans will be mad at me for this because Ryan Grubb is supposed to be the savior. I haven't seen it, Jay. And I watched the preseason. I watched last week. I am yet to see Ryan Grubb, be this elite play caller, have this elite offense that he had in college. And my gripe here is if you look at Grubb, like, yes, he was at the University of Washington. Well, this isn't the Pac-10 anymore.
Yep.
This is the NFL. And we got to adapt. So I'm sure there's going to be growing pains there. And then defensively, you're not going to see Bo Nix every week. And what scares me, and again, I want to puke saying this, but I thought the Rams on Sunday night against the Lions, even without Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford looked incredible.
He did.
Looked incredible. And now I just talked about the Niners. These are your division opponents. So, yeah, I'm a little worried. I was really hoping that my Hawks would come out here opening day. You're at Lumen Field, formerly known as CenturyLink. Fans are there. You're playing a rookie quarterback. Let's beat up on this Broncos team, score a bunch of points, hold them to nothing. And instead, it was a very, very close game. It was an ugly win. We got people massaging. I shouldn't say people. My guy Marshawn's massaging our head coach on the sideline. I'm nervous, especially given their opponents in their division.
Okay, speaking of opponents in their division, I got a fun one to end this one for you. George Kittle, who I know you're a big fan of George Kittle. He went to Iowa. Well, why was he wearing the Iowa State helmet in his media availability? Well, Brock Purdy went to Iowa State, and Iowa State beat Iowa over the weekend. So Kittle loses a bet. He's got to wear the Iowa State helmet. My question for you, my friend, did you ever have to make a similar bet with a teammate and wear another college helmet other than the one you went to, Rice?
Well, Jay, I think you'll appreciate my answer. This is somewhat of a common thing in the NFL. And early on, Rice doesn't have a ton of big-time opponents when they did. I would actually try and offer points and take Rice to lose. So no one really wanted that. I mean, it's just the reality. I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, I think Rice is going to win this week, when we certainly weren't. I mean, we opened the year this year losing to Sam Houston State, which, by the way, drove me insane because that's when we should actually win.
Right.
But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. So early on in my career, when guys are approaching me like, hey, we're playing Rice this week, what do you want to put on it? And I'm asking for 35 points before I even have a conversation, okay? People kind of knew, like, hey, Luke's not going to bet anything on Rice. Therefore, to my knowledge, there's no photos of me in anybody else's college helmet.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, that's better than George Kittle because he'll never live that one down. Luke will be here Thursday night after the Thursday nighter between the Bills and Dolphins. We're going to chat all about it, and we'll see if finally the Bills can put together a performance that doesn't make Luke want to pull his hair out. So we'll chat with you after the game, buddy, and talk to you then. Thanks for joining us on the show.